There is a number floating around out there that has quietly ruined a lot of perfectly good Tuesdays. In 2025, Charles Schwab ran a survey asking Americans a simple question: how much money does it actually take to be considered wealthy?
The answer that came back was $2.3 million. $2.3 million.
Sit with that for a second. For most people earning a normal salary, paying a normal mortgage, and raising normal kids, that figure doesn't feel like a goal.
It feels like a lottery ticket.
It feels like something that happens to other people, in other zip codes, with other last names. But here is what almost nobody tells you. The number you actually need is not the number that makes you rich. It is the number that makes you free. And those two numbers are wildly, almost comically different. The amount of money it takes to stop lying awake at 2 in the morning doing math in your head is dramatically lower than $2.3 million. In fact, you can figure out your own version of that number this weekend with nothing more than a calculator and your most recent bank statement. And that gap between wealthy and free is the whole reason so many people feel like they are failing when the numbers say they are actually winning. They keep chasing a target somebody else picked for them, when the target that would genuinely change their life is sitting much closer than they think. Nobody profits from telling you that you might already be closer than you feel. So let's do the math they skip. So today, I want to walk you through 5 signs that you have quietly saved enough. 4 of them are cold, checkable math. You can prove them to yourself on a napkin. And the 5th one is psychological. And honestly, it is the one that traps the most people, even the ones who have already won. Stick with me, because by the end of this, you will know exactly where you stand. Let's start with sign number 1, and it has a name that sounds like a vacation. It is called coast fire. Coast fire is the moment your invested money becomes a snowball big enough to roll itself the rest of the way down the hill. It means you have enough invested right now that compounding growth alone will carry you to your retirement goal by age 65. Even if you never contribute another single dollar. You can literally stop adding money and still arrive on time. To understand it, we need one piece of foundational math, and it is the famous 4% rule. Back in 1994, a financial planner named William Bengen studied decades of market history and found something reassuring. A portfolio worth 25 times your annual spending can safely support a 30-year retirement. 25 times what you spend in a year. That is your finish line. And here is a detail that most people miss. In 2025, Bengen actually revised his own safe withdrawal rate upward to 4.7%, which means that classic 25 times multiplier is not aggressive at all. It is genuinely conservative. If anything, it gives you a cushion. Let me make this real with a person. Meet Maria. She is 35 years old, and she spends about $60,000 a year to live her life. So her retirement target is $60,000 times 25, which comes out to $1.5 million. That is her number. Now, Maria has $200,000 invested today. Just $200,000. That sounds like a long way from 1.5 million, right? But watch what time does. The American stock market has historically returned around 7% a year after you strip out inflation. If Maria never touches that $200,000 and lets it compound at 7%, it grows into roughly 1.5 million over the next 30 years, arriving right as she turns 65. She hit coast fire, and she didn't even feel it happen. The desperate pressure to save every spare dollar is officially off. That is sign 1. Sign number 2 is the moment the tables turn. In the early years of building wealth, you are the engine. Your paycheck, your discipline, your willingness to skip the fancy coffee, that is what moves the needle. Your investment gains, meanwhile, feel like a rounding error. $20 here, $40 there.
Sign 2 is the exact moment that whole dynamic flips on its head, and your money starts pulling harder than you do. Think of it as hiring a second version of yourself, a second you working a full-time shift in the background, who never sleeps, never complains, and never once asks for a raise. So, how do you know when this second you clocks in? Here is the rule of thumb.
It happens when your annual cash contributions drop below 10% of your total portfolio. Not because you stopped saving, but because your portfolio got so large that your contributions are now the small part.
Back to Maria. She has $200,000 invested, and let's say she saves $18,000 a year from her paycheck.
That is a serious savings habit. But in a year where the market returns a normal 10%, her $200,000 portfolio generates $20,000 in gains all on its own. And $20,000 is bigger than the $18,000 she saved by hand. Just like that, her wealth building has crossed over from paycheck-driven to market-driven. The heavy lifting is now her money's job, not hers. She has a second employee, and she is paying that employee nothing. Now, sign number 3 is the least glamorous of the bunch, and it is the one people love to skip. But skipping it is how good plans fall apart. Sign 3 is about building your armor.
Because here is the brutal truth. All that beautiful compounding wealth is useless if a single emergency forces you to tear it apart at the worst possible moment.
There is a specific danger here with a specific name. It is called sequence of returns risk. That is the mathematical trap of being forced to sell your stocks during a market crash just to cover a surprise bill and locking in devastating losses that never recover. Your armor has 2 pieces. The first is a cash buffer.
You want 3 to 6 months of living expenses sitting in a plain, boring, instantly accessible savings account. For Maria, who spends $5,000 a month, that means $15,000 to $30,000 in cash.
For the average American household, which government data says spends about $78,500 a year, that buffer lands somewhere between $20,000 and $39,000. The second piece of armor is your debt ceiling. Your non-mortgage debt, so your car loans, your student loans, your credit cards, should eat up less than 15% of your gross monthly pay. And if you want a reality check on how powerful this armor really is, chew on this. A 2026 bank rate report found that only 30% of Americans could cover a surprise $1,000 bill straight from savings. Only 30%. So if you have hit sign 3, understand what that means. You are not just safe. You are standing in full financial armor, ahead of roughly 70% of the entire country. Which brings us to sign number 4. And this is where it stops being about spreadsheets and starts being about your actual life.
Once signs 1, 2, and 3 are locked in, you unlock something that money is really for: leverage.
And the single greatest dividend your money will ever pay you is not a yacht, and it is not a luxury watch. It is total, absolute control over your own time. Here is what shifts. Your paycheck is still nice to have.
But it is no longer the only thing standing between you and catastrophe. And that one change, that quiet loss of desperation, completely rewrites how Monday morning feels. Think about how many decisions in your life are secretly made out of fear rather than desire. The meeting you sit through silently.
The opinion you swallow. The opportunity you never take because the paycheck feels too fragile to risk. When your money can catch you, all of that fear starts to drain out of the room. Because you have armor, you can walk in and ask for the raise and actually mean it. You can turn down the weekend project. You can negotiate a 4-day work week.
You can take the lower stress role for less money and be fine. You can walk away from a toxic boss without your stomach dropping. Here is the litmus test, and it is a good one.
Could you walk into work tomorrow, quit on the spot, and be completely fine for the next 6 months? If your honest answer is yes, then you are playing a fundamentally different game than the person in the next cubicle who is terrified of losing their next paycheck. You are not working because you are trapped. You are working because you chose to, and that distinction is worth more than almost any raise. And now, sign number 5, the sneaky one. This is the invisible hurdle, and it catches the people who have already nailed the first 4. It is entirely psychological. Your spreadsheet says you are secure. Your net worth says you are fine. But your nervous system never got the memo. You still feel broke. And you are not imagining it. According to Credit Karma, nearly 1/3 of Americans hold a distorted, unfairly negative view of their own finances. And this glitch hits younger generations the hardest, affecting 43% of Gen Z and 41% of millennials, many of whom are quietly sitting on above-average savings while feeling hopelessly behind. So how do you prove to yourself that you have beaten the glitch? It shows up in 3 specific behaviors. First, guilt-free spending. You can make a planned, budgeted purchase and actually enjoy it, without that residual wave of guilt washing over you afterward. Second, you stop delaying maintenance. You stop putting off the things your life actually needs out of pure fear. If you have a 6-figure portfolio, but you are terrified of a $300 dental bill or a brake repair, that is fear talking, not math. And third, you stop watching the highlight reel. You stop measuring your messy behind-the-scenes reality against the heavily edited, often secretly debt-funded, social media performances of strangers. So let's come all the way back around to where we started, $2.3 million. That Schwab number, here is the thing you have to understand about it.
Wealthy is an arbitrary figure that somebody else invented and then sold to you. But enough is a mathematical reality that you can actually prove to yourself this weekend with a calculator and a bank statement.
True financial independence was never about hitting some magical, astronomical number so you can finally feel rich. It is about reaching the precise point where money stops dictating your choices, and you finally start dictating them yourself.
So this weekend, run your own numbers. Find your enough. And if this helped even one of those 2 a.m. math sessions feel a little quieter, do me a favor. Subscribe, hit the like button, and tell me down in the comments which of these 5 signs you have already hit. I read every single one.